Welcome back to the Cowpot Bros podcast. Jason and I just finished up the segment on the Oregon teacher that was fired after appearing in blackface. This is a segment that you'll probably fight me tooth and nail to have, but I would love to do a segment on Tropic Thunder.
Of all the entertainment topics we could talk about, that is not going to be anywhere near the top of the list.
I thought we were an entertainment show. It's
I would
definitely entertainment.
I would rather talk about Tiger King 2 than Tropic Thunder.
We
could talk about the Wonder Years and the new perspective that brings. I'd rather talk about that than Tropic Thunder.
That doesn't move the needle the same way. That doesn't get the people going the same way.
I'd rather talk about anything Kanye West than talk about Tropic Thunder. And that says a lot. That says a lot right there.
Oh my. Shout out to Donda. Shout out to Donda. All right. In this segment number 3, we're going to be talking about some observations. Jason, I went shopping because, Terrence be shopping this week. And I noticed I was in Meijer and I noticed certain items. I was like, wait a sec. I haven't noticed a limit on this particular item in a while. So it seemed like some of the merch, like signage, had changed. They definitely bringing back these item restrictions, dog. So I am referencing an article on businessinsider.com. Costco limits water, toilet paper purchases as buyers stock up. Costco confirms it's limiting toilet paper and water purchases as customers start to stockpile amid the spread of the Delta variant. Customers have been complaining about product shortages at Costco on Twitter for weeks, apparently. The warehouse chain confirmed on a call with analysts on this past Thursday that it had reinstated purchase limits such as toilet paper and packs of its private label Kirkland water to prevent shortages. Customers are buying more and more of these items amid the spread of the Delta variant. Business Insider reported on the limits earlier this month. And some customers said they may stockpile the item. Did we not learn from last year at all? I pulled up to Costco and they are out of toilet paper and water. These people never learn, one person in Nevada said. Grocery chains used purchase limits in the early days of the pandemic. That just sounds weird. To prevent product shortages, I should say. Costco imposed the latest limits in reaction to the uptick in the Delta-related demand, CFO Richard Galante said in a call with analysts. It's not just customer demand for certain items that is causing the shortages. CFO told analysts that supply chain issues were also a problem for the retailer. He used antibacterial wipes as an example without specifying which brand. Probably a good idea. Let's not go there. So, yeah, these were probably some needed restrictions that, frankly, probably just should have stayed there in the first damn place. Jason, what are your thoughts after hearing that a big box retailer like Costco has reinstituted these?
Well, as you mentioned, it's not even just Costco. You mentioned you went to Meijer and you saw or found out that they were doing it. I found an article also on hiptosave.com mentioned that Sam's Club's doing the same thing. So yeah. And I guess compared to 2020, well, first of all, let me go back. So definitely when I saw this on the Insider, it made me automatically think, okay, is this the direction we're going? Are we going back to the early days of 2020 with the early days of the pandemic, limiting stuff where you can only buy so much water, so much toilet paper, so much paper towels? And I don't know. I think this is more preventative, perhaps, as opposed to before it maybe was more of a reaction to what had already happened when it comes to shelves being emptied and stuff like that. Which I'm sure in some regards, I know for a fact it's happened already based off of some articles I found, including the one on Insider. But when I saw this, that's my immediate thought. Like, are we going back to what we were before? I mean, we're not currently on lockdown like we were last year. Stuff's still open at the moment. I don't foresee us going back to where we were in 2020, but that's just funny to me that was my first thought of, oh, this was like 2020 all over again, which
Yeah.
which is weird because I think I told you before, or I've said this on the show before. It's like, at what point are we going to be really ready to go back to normal? I mean, even though stuff's still open, as far as the person, as far as the people in society, of which I'm a part of, I'll admit. Um, when are we going to really get back to normal? And I think stuff like this is going to, well, at least the reason why it's here is what's going to prevent us from getting back to normal. Because normally people aren't stockpiling paper towels or toilet paper or water, but because they're scared of the Delta variant getting worse and worse, they're stocking up on it. So I don't know. It's definitely a concern. I don't think it's going to be an issue. I think maybe annoying for some people who are maybe trying to stockpile the stuff, but it's really just based off what you need because they want everybody
What you
else to get
need,
what they want.
I mean, my biggest issue is I remain truly disgusted by the way in which some people stockpile those
How so?
items, because they made it so that other people could, that if I need 10 of these fucking things and the next person can't even get one, like, that's hoarding. That's just being greedy. That's living in excess. And listen, I'm not saying that, oh, you can't have an extra one. But a lot of this shit, people is playing like the fucking COVID stock market index. Like, oh, well, I'm just gonna corner the market so you can't have any of this shit. I do think you have a very good point. I am hoping this is simply being a proactive step and not a reflection of how dire things were in the spring, because it was a scary time.
Yeah, and you mentioned off when you let off the segment, there was more of like a supply chain issue, which again, from what I'm seeing on other sites, when it comes to like Forbes and Insider, that could be really what the issue is when it comes to certain things that we need to make these products. We have to get from other countries. So there's just, obviously that's going to be a challenge. I'm sure with COVID doesn't help either, or everything going on in the world right now. Um, your favorite saying, but yeah, I think
My
that's more.
favorite is amongst black people, yes, but everything going on in the world right now, Terrence. Everything
Everything
going on in
going
the
on.
world, Jason.
So yeah, so with everything going on in the world, I think this is preemptive. Clearly, I don't think it's a sign of COVID getting worse. I think people are just overreacting as why they're stockpiling it. I agree with you. Like if you're one individual of one person household like myself, I I probably don't need to be buying a 24 pack of toilet paper. I mean, I'm just one person. I mean, that 24 pack, normal time will probably last me a number of months. Don't need that. Save that for people that have like a family of five. Case in point, you. So,
Yeah.
and I'm sure most of that's getting used by you, but yeah, I said that. Oh, ain't no
Gentleman
secret,
never
bro.
tells. Gentleman never tells.
Well,
Anyways,
that's why
uh,
I'm telling it because I'm not a gentleman.
yeah, man. I think you're an idiot. But I love you. No, I think I know we said this on another show. I maintain if Trump would have got on the horn with this Galante cat from Costco and the Waldens and Bezos and said, "Man, look, shit's about to hit the fan. I need you to institute some limit two per item across certain things that we know are going to be hard to get." He might still be president, because this is when the bottom fell out. Like, you can't say you pro business and you can't have these fucking conversations when the shit hits the fan. You got a once in a lifetime fucking pandemic.
You putting
I
a lot on
said
the
it.
president, bro.
I, I put a
Not,
lot on. I put a
I'm not
lot
talking
on
about
me.
Trump. Not just talking about Trump. I'm just saying that's a lot. You put a lot on the president to be doing, bro. Talking to Jeff
I
Bezos about
mean,
toilet paper, bro. Come on.
I mean, I mean, if you can't talk to Jeff Bezos about toilet paper, what can you talk to Jeff Bezos about?
Probably nothing. You're too busy
So,
counting money.
yeah, I mean, Maybe you don't feel comfortable talking about toilet paper with Jeff Bezos when he wipes his ass with $100 bills, literally.
Have you witnessed this, Terrence?
I mean, it's a great story. I can't. I can't. I'm like that Newburgh school district. I'm like, we really can't confirm that.
Oh, but I think you could. But never mind. Getting back to the
Yeah.
point. Yeah, I'd be interested to see. I mean, you mentioned Meyer, which is kind of on the big box side of it, like Costco and Walmart and stuff like that. I'd be curious to see if the smaller grocery stores start doing this too. I think that's be more of a sign of true sign of going back to 2020. If I can go to my local Kroger or my local Schnucks grocery store or whatever shopping saver, the Piggly Wiggly, you know, if they start doing this along with Costco and the big boys, then okay, then that might be more of a sign of going back to 2020. But even still, it's like people just need to relax, calm down, get one toilet paper, wipe appropriately with the right amount of toilet paper, and you're good. Okay. If you're one person, a one-person household, you probably don't need more than the six pack or whatever they come in. You're good. It'll last you a while, unless you're eating a whole lot. I don't know, but and if you're a household of more than one, multiply appropriately. But relax. They make more water, people. You get water going to your house. It's not the worst thing in the world. You're good. Okay. I will say too. You mentioned your. I had to laugh at this, but you mentioned your experience in Meyer. I remember my first time being personally involved when it comes to my experience with the limit of two. So I went to the. This is back in 2020. I went to my local Kroger and I went to go get some dude wipes. Right. So like basically moisturized wipes. As seen on Shark Tank, folks. But and I usually get a pack, 2 packs of them, just so I don't have to keep going back and forth to the store. Well, apparently those are lumped into paper towels, toilet paper, whatnot. Because lady said, "Oh, you can only buy one of those." I'm like, "What? Like, of these? What? But it's not paper towels. It's not toilet paper. They're just wipes. There's wet wipes you can use on your face." I said, "Sorry, won't let you do it." And I'm not afraid to admit this. So what I pretty much did was something you mentioned the other day is I pretty much just bought one, went back in the store 5 minutes later, went to the another cash register and bought the other one there. So not that we're trying to teach people, how to buck the system, but yeah, that just reminded me when you mentioned your experience in Meyer. That reminded me of my personal experience of the limit per two um, at grocery stores last year. So um, yeah, I don't think I have a concern about that again. I've stockpiled on my dude wipe since then, but not during COVID, but at least not during the main variant or whatever.
Main
But yeah,
variant.
the
The
main
main.
variant,
The main ingredient.
the first coming.
Jesus. Um. Yeah, man. It's really going to be interesting. First off, I think the signage is important because it makes people at least aware. Hey, man, do you really need all this shit, or are you just doing it because it's there? Or do you really need all of this item? But I also think it's important to at least be mindful of others in your community. I mean, I remember when COVID was so crazy. Number one, some of these stores couldn't even stay open, but also they had it to where like because of the elderly and the high risk of infection, they had special hours for them.
Some stores are still doing that.
You know of any in Indy, buddy?
Absolutely. So actually, one of the Krogers that I use, they're still doing that. The Whole Foods that's near me, they're doing it still too. Now I don't know if they ever stopped doing it and it just started back up again. But yeah, I was walking to my Whole Foods just randomly early in the morning because I was nearby. I said, "Hey, sorry, this is especially special hours time for the seniors for a certain age." I'm like, "Oh, okay," and I left and just went home and you know went back later. But yeah, so they started doing it again. So I I found that quite kind of interesting because I didn't think those really. Now, obviously, I'm not a senior citizen, so maybe it's not for me to say what the need is or isn't for. But I guess I just felt like it wasn't really a need. Is there really a need for that, given that we're not back in 2020 when it was really serious? And not to say the Delta variant isn't serious. I'm not going to have that conversation tonight. But
Please, please don't.
well, see, now that you say please don't, now maybe I want to have it now, just to make you talk about it. But yeah, I was very curious. But that's now that you mentioned that could be another aspect to are we going back to 2020? And of course, the answer to that is no, knock on wood. But that's just another aspect of reminding us where we came from and something that was going on in 2020. And hopefully, maybe people may look at that and say, hey, maybe we need to change some stuff so we don't go back to getting the full brunt of this and making this just a precursor to what's going to be coming if we don't change our ways. So maybe that'll happen. Probably not. Maybe one person out there will make that change, which if it helps one, great. But I do think some people need to wake up when it comes to their activities, what they choose to do or not do.
Yeah, and what they choose to wipe down. Shout out to Boosie. Uh,
Wipe me down. Yeah, yes,
uh,
everybody. If you know the song, you're probably singing that right now in your heads or out loud and dancing to it. If you are, great. You're welcome.
well, I know what I'm listening to at the gym tomorrow.
Well, if you're gonna do that at the gym, make sure you actually do the dance that goes with it too. You got to. You can't just sing the
I
song.
I can and I shall.
There you go. Make sure somebody gets a video of that because I want to make that trending on the Calvart Bros page. Terrence dancing to wipe me down at the gym before he gets his bench press on. So
Oh, geez, you're out of control. Well, folks, that concludes our segment on the established product shortages and also restrictions from various retailers here in America. Coming up next, we'll close out the show with our observations and omissions on Cal Park Roads.